Today I'll be trying to CSS this infinite animation. So let's see how that would work. So first of all, I'm going to have a number of layers, which is going to be 8, a number of bricks per layer, 10, and a total number of bricks. And here I'm going to have an assembly, and within it I'm going to have the bricks. So I loop, so while n is different from 0, I'm going to have brick elements. And for every brick element, I'm going to have a number of faces. So the number of faces is 6. And again, I loop here while the number of faces, and I keep decreasing it. And here I have the brick faces. And this is it for the structure. Now let's see the bricks. So a brick and brick face, and let's give it a width and a height. So the width is going to be something like this, the height is going to be half of it, okay. So here I'm going to have, and the same thing is going to be for the height, except it's going to be height, and here h, and let's set a background just so that we can see stuff. Current color, okay. Now let's set all divs, position absolute, and then we're going to set on the assembly top 50%, left 50%, and also a dummy transform, which is going to be a rotate y 45 degrees. Okay, now in order to see how this rotation looks, let's do a few things here. I'll make the body full height, set a perspective on it, and if we make this more exaggerated, you can see how the back is smaller than the front. Let's go back to this, and here let's make the font size depend on the viewport. So okay, now let's distribute these bricks. So the way that we're going to do this, we're going to set a transform, and we're going to have a rotation, and this is going to be a custom property, and then we're going to have a translate 3D 0 along the x-axis, then we're going to have a custom property for the y-axis, and then we're going to have the radius of the polygon on the edges of which these bricks are distributed, the in radius of the polygon. Okay, so now let's see how we compute all this stuff. So in order to get to the in radius, this is going to be the edge length of the polygon, and then I'm going to have over 2 over tangent of half the base angle in between, and this base angle is the angle between two bricks. So 0.5 times the base angle, and I need to add half the height. Okay, now the edge is going to be slightly bigger than the width, so times the width. Okay, so this should work. Now I also need the base angle, which is 360 degrees over the number of bricks. So yeah, and the rotation here, so this is 0 by default, and the rotation is going to be rotate y, and here I'm going to have a calc value, and this is why it's not going to work in Firefox or in Edge, because I have a calc value inside a rotation function. So here I'm going to multiply with the base angle, and it's going to be the index of the current brick on the layer plus, and it might be plus 0 or it might be plus 0.5, and this depends on the layer. On one layer it's 0, on the next layer it's 0.5, then it's 0, then it's 0.5, and so on. So this, I'm going to have a factor here which is 0 initially times 0.5. So yeah, something's still not right here, and I'm not sure I know what it is. So compile CSS and let's see what is the matter here. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so this is going to be 0 plus 0, and it's basically rotate y of 0 degrees. It should translate it along the z-axis. Oh, it doesn't, because I don't have transform style preserve 3D, and if I don't have this, then my elements get flattened into the plane of their parents. So what am I doing? Preserve 3D. Okay, now it should work. Okay, it does. Okay, now let's start looping. So for I from 0 to the number of layers, and I'm going to have nth child, and this is going to be n plus I times the number of bricks. Oh, okay, plus 1. Okay, and here I need to set the y, and this is going to be the number of layers minus 1 minus I times, and here I need the difference between two layers along the y-axis, and this difference is the height plus the gap in between. And let's also compute this gap. Actually, let's move this a bit here, and here we're going to have the gap, and this gap, I don't know, something like this should work. Okay, now I'm going to have times this difference along the y-axis, and now you can see that they're distributed vertically. Now we need to distribute them around the circle as well. So now we're going to need to have another loop. So the number of bricks, and here I'm going to have the number of bricks and here is I plus 1, and here I need to, oh wait, here I also need to set this f factor, just like this. Okay, now here I need to set the I, the index, and this is going to be equal to I. So now I have them around the circle, but they don't look quite right, and this is because I forgot something here. So margin half the height, and then minus half the width. And now this looks a lot better. So the next thing that I'm going to do is actually make the bricks look like bricks. So the way I'm going to do this is, first of all, let's set color from there. Okay, and here I'm going to set a transform, and I'm going to have a rotation, rotate 3D, and to define the axis I'm going to have an I. This is going to be the component of the unit vector of the axis, and then I'm going to have calc value, which is going to be 1 minus this I, and along the z-axis I'm going to have always 0, and then I'm going to have a factor multiplied with 90 degrees. And of course this is going to be inside a calc because otherwise it doesn't work. And then I'm going to have a translation, translate z, and here I'm going to have a calc, and this is going to be 0.5 times a z custom property, which by default is the height. Okay, now this let's make this I is 1 by default, and this f factor is going to be 0 by default. And let's make this multiplier m, because I think it gets inherited otherwise. Okay, and here I'm going to loop, so for I from 0 to 6, I'm going to have nth child I plus 1, and here I'm going to set I, and it's going to be if I is smaller than 4, then it's this I, and otherwise it's going to be minus 1 raised to the power of I. Okay. So that's my value. Actually, this is the m. Sorry about that. Okay. Now I'm going to have nth child 2n. I'm going to set a different color. Actually, I'm just going to copy paste this and then change it. And then I'm going to take this again and this is going to be 3, and this is not going to be 2n, it's going to be n plus 5. And here I'm also going to change the I to 0. And I'm also going to change the Z to the width. Okay, and something else that I need to do is I'm going to set a width custom property here. So I need to change it here as well. And here I need to use a calc because it's not going to work otherwise. And here I need to reset this to the height. Okay, so this works. Now let's tweak the perspective origin a bit. So here I have perspective origin, and this is 50% along the x-axis, but it's a bit above 50%. So let's do something like this. 3 times the width. I think this should work. Okay, now this looks better. Let's get it like this. Now I think I can collapse this. Collapse this as well. Now for the number of layers, I don't think I need to change anything here. Do I? No, I don't think so. For number of bricks, number of faces, nope, I don't need to change anything there. Now for the last row here, I'm going to do something like this. So nth child, nth last child, and this is going to be minus n plus the number of bricks. I'm going to have an animation. And here I'm going to have, actually if I have defaults, I think I can do something like this. So if I greater than 0, I can do it like this in here. So yeah, okay, and this is going to be is in out infinite. Okay, and here I'm going to set some keyframes. I'm going to have 0% something, and then I'm going to have 100% and something. And here I'm going to take this transform and I'm going to copy paste it here and copy paste it here, and here I'm going to have just a 0 here, and here I'm going to have the number of layers times this difference along the y-axis. Okay, what's going on? Oh, okay, I need to define an animation duration. That's good. So and this is going to be 4 seconds. Now I'm going to set a base keyframe, but first I'm going to set a constant key, which is going to be 4. And then I'm going to have a base keyframe, base percentage in the keyframe. It's going to be 100% over the number of bricks plus k minus 1. So here I'm going to have also I times that base percentage. This is with minus, otherwise it looks odd. So here I'm going to take the exact same thing and I'm going to add it here, and this is going to be not I but I plus k. So here I'm also going to set the animation name, which is going to be that one. So animation name is going to be so okay. Let's actually make this the number of bricks minus. Sorry, like that. Okay, so this works just fine. Now the one thing that I need to do is remove this dummy rotation from here, make the whole thing start from the back. So I'm going to do this by subtracting half a turn. So this is good. Let's have half a turn, let's see how that works. And let's subtract this. This looks perfect. This is exactly it. Actually, if I'm thinking better, +1, just leave it like that because I'm rotating in the other direction. That's I think that's better. Okay, so now the next thing that I need to do is actually set a real animation here. So animation, same duration. It's going to be linear, however, sorry, but also infinite. So here I'm going to have keyframes, and I'm going to have transform, translate y and this is going to be the difference along the y-axis between two different consecutive layers. And I'm going to have a rotation, so rotate y, and this is going to be half the base angle. So yeah, this almost looks like an infinite animation, except not really, because we can see the ends and we can see from where those bricks fall, and we can start the animation from higher up, but we don't know the aspect ratio of the screen, so I don't know. Okay, so the way that we're going to fix this is by adding a cover, and this is going to use the after pseudo element. So after position absolute, and this is going to be top 0, right 0, and the same for the other two, which are bottom and left. And I'm also going to set a content, because otherwise I'm not going to see anything. And I'm going to have background, and this is going to be radial gradient, circle, and it's going to be RGBA, the background, and 0. And then I'm going to have this background at the number of layers times this. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I can increase this a bit. I think this works. Okay, and now for the background on the body, so background, and now I need to start from higher up with those bricks. So here in the animation, the keyframes here, I'm not going to have just n layers, I'm going to have n layers plus 4. Does this work better? I can still see something 5. Okay, this looks a lot better. Now let's make a few final tweaks and add a heading here. And let's collapse all this stuff. Z index 0. Here I'm going to set Z index 1. And I'm also going to do something else. The heading here going to have one more thing I wanted to do. Font inherit. Okay, and here I'm going to have position relative, and then I'm going to have z index 2, and I'm going to have font size I'm going to make it depend on the viewport width, and let's also do a bit of text align, and this is going to be center, and let's have a bit of padding, and let's set a text shadow, one pixel, one pixel, one pixel, and this is going to be white. Maybe it's better to do a black because it's light text. So yeah, this is it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any other ideas, just drop them in the comments below or send them on Twitter, and until next time. But first, let's see it in full page. So yeah, this is it. Until next time.